Welcome to Toffee TV. This is the final word. Everton won, Swansea won. Another disappointing result for Everton. Feels like there's been a string of them recently. Just a poor game all over, let's be honest. You looked at the bench, I think that probably would have got a few people, really sort of disappointed. Jack Yelker back in at centre-back after the games he's been playing recently. James McCarthy back in. Probably most people would like to have seen Tom Davies there. I believe Tom Davies played 3 times for the England under-19 squad during the break, which obviously it's probably had an effect on whether he's played this weekend. But I think the biggest disappointment going into this game and the whole of the game is that it's the same old, and I think that's starting to become very, very apparent. No matter who plays, it just seems to be the same. Anyway, I think the biggest thing we talked about last week was getting into the game quickly, starting well, and we didn't. I think we had a shot in the first couple of minutes, but that was it. Didn't start strong. We let Swansea find their way into the game. They settled in, started passing the ball around quite comfortably, not much pressure on them, and we just allowed it to happen. And that's the biggest problem for me, is that this pressing game that Ronald Koeman keeps talking about, it's just not happening. It's not there. It doesn't seem to exist. The system we play, I don't think really helps. The 4-5-1, again, it doesn't really matter who plays in it. It's not working. Romelu Lukaku very isolated. Again, we don't get enough players up to him. You looked at what they played. They played almost like a false number 9, but they played three up front, and all their 3 did was hassle our back 4. They kept on hassling everybody, trying to win the ball back, and we don't do that. We allow opposition's back 4 to come out with it. Romelu finds himself isolated all the time, even in the pressing. Ronald Koeman said this week that Rom needs to learn how to do it. Well, he can't do it on his own. There's no point running 10 yards over that side for the ball just to be kicked onto the other side. There's no point in that. It has to be done in numbers, and we just don't do that. So very slow start. We allowed Swansea to settle in. We didn't make that many chances. Rom had one where Balassi fired it really hard into him. I suppose it hits him in the midriff. I suppose it could have gone anywhere. Unfortunately for us, it goes over. Ross has a decent effort. Well, he has a decent turn. His effort was quite poor. Screwing it wide. They get the penalty. Jagielka is turned inside out. They score 1-0 at half time, and you're just thinking, if we'd got into 0-0, it might have been a bit like other games. The manager gives them a good bollocking, and then they come out. Now, he obviously had to give them a good bollocking, and they come out quite well second half, looking for that early goal. It never happened, so we had to look for changes. Then he obviously brought Deulofeu on, he brought Morales on, but he didn't change the system, so I just don't see the point. You've got Deulofeu playing on the right, he dropped Ross a little bit deeper, taking McCarthy off, and played Morales sort of in a number 10 role, but it just didn't work. For me, I'd probably have pushed Balassi up front and gone a little bit more direct, because every time we went direct, I didn't think they could cope with it. So I would have gone a little bit more direct, using Balassi's physicality and playing Morales on one side and Deulofeu on the other. It just never really kept on sticking for us. We took Jack Yelker off and brought Valencia on again. It started creating a few more problems, and it was obviously very late on. And obviously we got the goal, good header by Koeman, but it was too little too late. I mean, really, after that, we still had chances to win the game and probably should have. Rom had a decent chance where I think he had a couple more options, and we just seemed to choose the wrong options. But the frustrating part of this game is that we're just not making enough chances, so that a team like Swansea can come to Goodison and nick 1 goal and come away with a point. And that's the problem. We're not making enough chances. Romelu didn't have that many chances. Balassi created a couple, but just basic thing, corners, awful. Crossing too deep instead of just putting into the mixer. it was just, the biggest problem for me is there's no real pattern of play yet. We're relying on individuals again. There's no pattern of play. It's just all up and man and football, and that's the big worry. What has changed from last season? Yes, we're a little bit tight at the back. We look a little bit more organised, but it's the same players. I mean, today the only one who could come out with any kind of credit was Garner. Really, I thought he had a decent game, and the fact that he played that well meant that James McCarthy was just redundant. It was pointless him being out there. We could have had another attacker or someone better on the ball, like Tom Cleverley, dare I say. He was just pointless because Garner was doing all the running for him. He put McCarthy to show, to be honest. But it's the same old things. Jagielka, I don't know whether he was playing because Funes Mori's been obviously away with Argentina, but maybe a chance to bring Holgate in. But then again, you're looking at it and thinking it's a must-win game because of the games we've got coming up. You know, Davies, as I mentioned earlier, whether it's fatigue because he's played a lot of games for England, I don't know again. But it's just worrying that. I suppose it's gone past worrying now. The fact is, Deulofeu, Morales, they're not doing it. It doesn't look like they will do it. So time to ship them out and bring better replacements in. And that's the way you've got to be with a lot of these players now. I think we've come to the point where I think there's quite a lot of players. I think we were hoping that Koeman would come in, change how a lot of these players played, and they'd all be better for it. Now it's clear that a lot of them are just not good enough. They can't adapt to what he wants, the pressing game, because I'm seeing very little of this evidence of this pressing game. You know, it was first few games of the season. It was there. It's tailed off. Our default setting is Martinez's way of playing. Now, people might think I'm having a go at Martinez by saying that, but I'm not. I'm actually having a go at Koeman because he hasn't instilled this new way of playing. They seem to have a go and then fall back into old habits. It's up to him to change those habits. Now, whether he thinks he can't do that with these players or he needs new players, I don't know, but he should be a good enough coach on the money he's on to change some of them. And if they're not good enough, take them out and replace them with some younger players who will bring in that enthusiasm that all young players do. You know, if Holgate plays, if Davies plays, if Keenan Dowell plays, we as fans, I think, would be a lot more forgiving of them. And we'd be a bit more patient. And if they make mistakes, we understand because they're young players. But as fans, we can't tolerate players like Aaron Lennon, players like Morales, players like Deulofeu, who've been around for 2-3 seasons now. McCarthy's another. Even Seamus Coleman at times, even though, you know, he gets the equaliser today. We can't tolerate that because we've seen it all before. So, for me, January just can't come quick enough. But in the meantime, I think there has to be revisions in this team. There has to be changes. We expected today to be a massive impact of what had happened at the Chelsea game. We expected a reaction from the Chelsea game, and where was it? It wasn't there at all. It simply wasn't there. And that's not good enough for me. It's not good enough from the players, and it's not good enough from the manager either. Now, I'm giving Koeman a chance because obviously he can't change things overnight. But there are little things he can change that he needs to start changing. The formation for me is all wrong. I've said this so many times. If you're going to play 3 up front, you play 3 up front. You have Rom in the middle and you have 2 either side all the time. Keeping that shape, stopping the opposition coming out with the ball. Simple as that. Then you have 3 strung across the midfield. And you have 4 at the back. If you have to have 3 orthodox 3 midfielders, then you have 3 orthodox. If one of your 3 up front is Ross, then it has to be Ross. That's the way it is for me. But we can't. This system we play, I've said it so many times. Balassi and whoever else is on there are not forwards and they're not midfielders. So it's unclear what they do at times. So I think we can get away with having 3 strung across the midfield because of our fullbacks. They like to get forward. Now, this is up to Ron Koeman to change. And I think he has to change his tune because we've got a lot of tough games coming up now. And we have to start getting points. So, I know we're still in 7th place, but, you know, Southampton, Watford, they're just behind us now. And we're going into a really difficult spell. And we want to make sure that by January we're in a good position, that if we do bring players in. Now, don't forget, January we lose players to the African Nations Cup, Balassi, Ghana. So we need to bring players in regardless. Those players have got to come in early as well. Those players have got to be, 1st, 2nd of January have got to be at the club. The club have to be making those things happen now. They can't just wait and go, oh, we'll do our business in January. They have to do it early January. So just really not good enough today. One of the worst performances I've seen all season. We, as I say, we don't seem to have a pattern of play. Unless the big individuals step up, we look poor. And we've let the team that are bottom of the league come to Goodison Park and get a point, nearly get 3 points off us. And it's not good enough. And as I say, we should have seen a reaction today, and we didn't. And that's, I know Koeman will probably say, well, it's because of the international break and he's only just got his players back. But we've got to start seeing that reaction, because the work rate and the effort is not good enough. And a lot of players just don't look like they care. There's a mentality, and it seems to be very, very soft. And we've got to get rid of that mentality. And if that means getting rid of the players, which it looks like to me now is the way it has to be, then that's what has to happen. So it's not good enough. It's as simple as that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Probably not angry enough. Probably should be a lot angrier, trying to keep your blood pressure down. I'm sure Baz will make up for that in his instant reaction video. Check out that. Check out his player ratings as well. And look forward to Monday when we'll have the final words, when we'll be deconstructing this even more. So thanks for watching Toffee TV. We'll see you later.